Hey there! Today I thought I'd look at the relatively unknown world of NES Homebrew games. First, I should explain that I'm only going to be looking at Homebrew in this video and not hacks. So something like Mario Adventure or Mega Man in the Mushroom Kingdom, as great as those games are, cannot be included because they are built off of pre-existing games being Super Mario 3 and Mega Man respectively. Homebrews differ from hacks as they are built from the ground up, with all the ones in this video being original ideas, barring the first one, which is Alter Ego. This little puzzle platformer was originally released on the ZX Spectrum in 2011, where it was also homebrew. The Nintendo version is slightly better though, with its higher color count and additional sound effects and music. The main mechanic is simple. Get the purple dots by using your limited number of teleports, which swaps you with the outline that mirrors your movements. It's simple in concept, but surprisingly complex in execution. With a few more levels, the game could have been sold on Steam as a retro indie puzzle game, and no one would know the difference. Lawnmower is a fun little novelty and probably the simplest game on here. The only real objective here is to mow the grass while avoiding rocks and flowers. There's this constant pull between speed and preserving gas, which makes you plan out how long you'll think you'll make it before finding more fuel. It sounds boring, but Lawnmower is more than the sum of its parts. On the flip side, Babble Blocks is one of the most complex NES games I've ever seen. The goal of the game is seeing how long you can stop people from building the Tower of Babel by guessing which word is correct for the language corresponding with each color of the characters climbing the tower. If you guess the correct word for their language, it confuses them once they get to the top. On top of being a great and unique homebrew, it's actually a pretty decent learning tool. There isn't a difficulty setting to change in the game, but if you studied French or Spanish in high school, this game is going to be much easier for you. Even though the game is single screen, the amount of content is staggering, with dozens of words to learn and 10 languages to pick to face against. I'm kind of surprised it fits in a measly 40 kilobytes. I hope we see a game that revisits this idea in the future. This one kind of follows in the same footsteps as Lawnmower, in that it's normally a mundane task, but it has a game for it. Zooming Secretary is about, you guessed it, being a secretary. The game emulates the job pretty well, as the core gameplay is taking stuff like books or sand from drawers and shoving them into the telephone. There are also these little historical factoids which are cool but repeat a bit. I don't know what's with Nintendo homebrew games and trying to teach the player something, but good on them, I suppose. Most of the game is deciding which telephones to get to first, planning a route that avoids people to distract you, and grabbing the essential item that each telephone needs. At its core, Zooming Secretary is an arcade time-managing platformer that has a fun theme. Krazy Kreatures, spelled Mortal Kombat style, is a fast-paced puzzle game about matching animals into triplets or more for points before an oppressive timer runs out. An interesting little twist here is how you don't start with all the objects, as they gradually come in throughout the level. It makes you think before you complete a row, because you might be stuck if you rely on the game giving you enough to make another set. Speed is key here, and if you don't get your pieces done, you'll be punished. It's a nice game, but man does it rank up that difficulty fast. This is level 5. For the next game, I couldn't pick one, so I'll just have to go with both in the series. D-Pad Hero 1 and 2 are basically what would happen if Guitar Hero was jammed into a Nintendo cartridge, and it's so much better than you would expect. Being able to play 8-bit renditions of hits from the 70s and 80s is something I never knew how much I wanted. Both are slightly different, with differing controls and songs, but they're about the same in playability. The second game has power-ups in a multiplayer mode that allows you to have two people share one set of buttons that constantly swaps back and forth when you hit a middle note, but this is balanced out by the first game having far the better selection of songs. There are 10 songs in total, and it's a blast to play. I can't get over how creative the idea behind this is. It's pure genius. Saving best for last, it's Micromages. Micromages is definitely the newest of all the games looked at today, with it being around a year old. It's a vertical scrolling platformer that has you progressing through 4 sets of 4 levels with a boss at the end of each set. It's not the most innovative idea, but Micromage's strength is in its execution. It gets everything right. The graphics are the best out of any homebrew I've ever seen, with an unrivaled level of crisp detail. The music is spot on, and there's even a hard mode that opens up with an entire new set of modified maps after you beat the game the first time. Playing this game with friends is pretty easy to do, considering it's one of the few homebrews on the system to have 4-player multiplayer. Micromages stands up to even Nintendo's first-party releases, and that does not come often.
This has been JW. Thanks for watching.